Ziegler Monster. Here we go. Oh! Law of gross tonnage there. Who won? Who won that one? So we talk about motorcycle riders, left turners. Well, you know, is it green? Doesn't mean you should go. Just let's watch this. Law of gross tonnage. We have this white vehicle turning left in front of a truck. It could be a motorcyclist, right? Left turners are deadly for motorcyclists. So left turner, white car. Green doesn't always mean go. And now we have this big truck with lots of weight moving behind it. Lots of weight moving behind it. And then that truck did not even budge. It just kept going. So imagine you getting hit by a truck. So why are we fighting with trucks all the time, class? I don't get it. Why are we fighting with trucks? Why are we fighting with cars? This car is going to beat us no matter what, even when we're on a motorcycle. So law of gross tonnage. Very, 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 very important. Boom. Nothing really happened to the Suburban. That vehicle was doing basically a 360, 270, whatever it is. And here's the thing. As a motorcyclist, that'd be crushed tib fib, crushed femur, crushed knee, possibly ejected. Now you got trauma all over the body. Pay attention, pay attention. Thankfully, the motorcyclist didn't collide with this white vehicle, or a motorcyclist didn't turn left in front of this vehicle. And now he hit that hit that red car. Now there's a 3-vehicle accident. That person in that white car better have good insurance. All right, here we go. We're riding around. All right, unique view, turning left, non-issue, good positioning, lane position 2, maintaining. Oh, what's this? Oh, good adjustment. So this person was planning their ride. Okay, so they're doing slow look, press, and roll. So planning their ride. There we go. So lane position 2, we're not trying to get from point A to point B as quick as possible. We're trying to get from point A to point B as smart and as safe as possible. So what he's doing is maintaining a good lane position in lane position 2. And when I'm talking about positioning for safety and planning, so positioning for safety, that's a good position, lane position 2 on these turns, because you have a good space cushion to the left, good space cushion to the right, you have escapes to the left, escape to the right, and your line of sight is really good. So always remember that position for safety is for line of sight, escape routes, space cushions in all directions, not just in front of you. So now the next part of planning is locating. So you have to locate hazards. So what we're going to be doing here is we're getting closer and closer and closer. Now, the thing is, during this whole time, we're locating hazards, which we have a blind turn, and then also we're locating any road debris. So what you do on turns like this, you look at your exit, and you do a quick glance along the road towards your front tire, and you're constantly just doing this. You're constantly glancing, but for the most part, you're staring at your exit and using your peripheral to find anything uncommon in front of you. So if you're looking at your exit, and then all of a sudden you see like a dark spot in like the gray road right here, so like a dark spot, you do a quick focal look. Oh, it's nothing. Go back to your exit. You see something else? Oh, nothing. Go back to your exit. You see something? Oh, it's a pothole. Adjustment. And that's going to be the next part that he's doing right here, is that he's going to locate a possible hazard. Okay, this is white vehicle. Possible hazard. Let's see what happens. Oh, he's in our lane. So now we have to do adjusting or navigating a threat. Now, if we're in a good position for safety already, and I like to say position for safety, but it could also be a position for success. You're setting yourself up for success, because if you're in lane position 2, all it is a slight adjustment to lane position 3 on the outside, versus if you're in lane position 1, you have to swerve to the outside and swerve back so you don't go off the road. So that's why you're always positioning yourself and moving over in different lane positions for the best line of sight, best space cushions, best escape routes. So what he did here, this is why I like lane position 2 a lot, is all you have to do is adjust a little bit to the right, and then make sure you correct yourself so you stay on the road. So you did very good. Part of being a smart rider is acquiring and utilizing personal protective equipment. So make sure you grab yourself a jacket just like this one from REVZILLA using the link in the description. It's an affiliate link. It helps me out. No extra cost to you. Plus, it lets REVZILLA know that the DDFM crew is pretty badass, and they actually grab some gear. Anyways, click that link. I'll see you soon. All right, so we're riding around.
Experienced how strange situations one can encounter on the road.
Blind turn.
Right lane and was able to spot the man in time.
Okay, good, good. Oh, thankfully, that's a blind turn. That is a bad spot for that guy to be walking. No, 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 no. Don't be doing that, man. You're gonna get hit, especially on this blind turn. Look at that. Look at that blind turn. Easily got hit. Get on the other side. So this is the same thing when it comes to line of sight and bad positioning for safety. So take a quick look. You can't see anything around the corner. So let's say we're hauling ass around this corner on a motorcycle, and then there's some random dude, uncommon thing in a common situation, in the middle of the road. But that doesn't have to be a dude. It could be a tree branch that fell down. It could be a bunch of gravel on the ground, like somebody kicked a bunch of rocks and a bunch of sand or whatever. That could easily be that too. So this is why when you go around blind curves, your line of sight is terrible. That's why you need to be going slower than you typically would, but then you can always add more speed later. Remember, we're just trying to get from point A to point B as safe as possible, not as fast as possible. I prefer to see things when we're riding. So you can't see anything, can't see anything. Like I said, a branch could be on the ground.
It's able to spot the man in time.
Now we spot the man, okay? We don't know if he's on the side of the road yet. Okay, now it's a bad thing. So if we were in this lane right here, and we're riding right here, and we saw this person, check our mirrors to the left, just adjust and get in this lane and do that. Now imagine trying to do that at speed, like really high speed, because you're hauling ass around this corner. It's gonna be difficult. But if you're just going the speed limit and you're just kind of enjoying it, you're in yellow stage, recognize the hazard, in orange stage, moved over, easy, you just planned your ride, non-issue at that point, and you moved on. But a lot of people would collide with that because they target fixated, or a lot of people would just panic and go into brown stage, or they would be blaming this person, which, you go ahead, all you want, but get yourself out of there first. All right, so we're riding. We're going with the flow. You know, the flow's, look at the left. The left is the flow. So we're not going too crazy. We have big open lane on our end. Yep, that's it. Stack of cars on the left. Big open lane in front of us. People want to merge into that. Stay in your lane. You're going fast. Stay in your lane. Just focus on what you need to do. Forget about it. Forget about it. All right, now we're just gonna cause issues. So it doesn't matter if they're on their phone. It doesn't matter any of those things. Okay, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Now, if something happened and you really want to make it a big deal, you go to a court and everything, then yeah, okay, insurance might. Fault and your safety doesn't matter. They don't mix. Okay, who's at fault? It doesn't matter. Who's responsible for your safety? You. Safety. I don't give a crap who's at fault. If a kid's running in the road and he gets hit by a car, who's at fault? The car. But everyone's gonna be like, well, the kid ran out in the road. It's like, yeah, well, he should have been responsible for his own safety, or the parents should be responsible for their safety. But, I mean, the car's at fault. It doesn't matter, though. The kid's probably dead or lifelong injuries. So at the end of the day, what matters? Your own safety. So when we get something like this, and we recognize the patterns, or we recognize all these different things, we need to be taken into account and stop blaming other people for being on their phones, or not seeing us, or not checking their mirrors, or... So how about we find out what we can learn and see, hey, there's a pattern coming up, that this is a common situation where somebody merges in front of you. This is an interstate situation that happens quite a bit. Merging lanes and people switching lanes in front of you is going to be one of the main hazards on an interstate. Now, in town, you're going to have path of travel violations of people turning left in front of you, turning right in front of you, kids running across the road, pedestrians. You're going to have all these different hazards, but interstates are relatively safe compared to in-town riding. You're just at higher speed, so it sounds and feels scarier. So we just switched one lane because we were right behind this white vehicle on the top right next to MotoStars, and we switched into this lane because it was wide open. If you're going to do that yourself, assume somebody else would want to do the same thing. You're not unique. You're not unique. Somebody's going to want to do that, the exact same thing. So let's take a look. So we're riding over here, and we have a big open lane in front of us. Beautiful for us. Beautiful. Well, somebody else wants that beautiful view too. We have great line of sight, good space cushions in the front. That's what other people want. So we're looking over here on the left, and this person's riding their brakes or riding the running lights or whatever it is. Big stacked line on the left side, which is supposed to be the fast lane. So let's think about it here. After action review process, we're just trying to figure out what's happening so we can do something different or do the same. Depends on if it was a good thing. We see this right here. Big stack of cars on the left side. It's the fast lane. People in the back don't want to be stuck right behind another car, especially in the fast lane. So what are they going to do? Look for an opportunity to get into a faster lane or get into a lane that's open so they can pass everybody. What's right in front of us and what's right next to them? That right there is supposed to jumpstart something in your head or in your gut saying, hey, this is not a yellow stage anymore where I'm just relaxed and I'm prepared and I'm just kind of scanning everything, planning my ride. No, now we're in orange stage where we specifically perceive the situation, a pattern that could be a threat. We need to be paying attention to this part. So we're getting up to here, same thing. People are stuck behind this car up in front. 2 cars, an open lane right here. So we're passing these vehicles without thinking because we're just trying to go faster than these vehicles. Haha, I got a better lane. But we're not concerned and thinking, this lane is open. I'm going to be a little bit more cautious. I'm going to be a little in orange stage. I'm going to be prepped and ready for anything that's happening. I'm going to be on head on a swivel. Thankfully, he recognized it and he can accelerate out. But here's the thing. If you see this, let's go back just a little bit. If you see this and you know that there's a possibility of people in the fast lane wanting to switch over, then how about we switch over to lane position 3? So here's lane position 2 and here's 1. We're like right here in this area. So we either accelerate past all these people quickly or we switch over here to give ourselves a better space cushion. It's like, well, yeah, Dan, what about the car on the right? What about the truck on the right? Okay, what about this vehicle? They're in the right lane. They're going to be going slower, and that's another hazard you have to deal with. So you pass this vehicle, which is a hazard. You have this vehicle that's a hazard, this vehicle that's a hazard. So that's why it's a hazardous orange stage maneuver that we're doing here. So you have to be cautious. You have to be aware. You have to know where your escape paths are. Can you go right? Can you go left? Do you accelerate to go straight? Do you apply the brakes and slow down? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Well, if you have a fast vehicle, move with a purpose. Go. Move with a purpose. Or hover around here in a staggered position from this vehicle and see what they're going to do first. You have to have your head on a swivel. You just have to. But the main thing here is recognizing this pattern right now. Big stack of cars, big open lane. That is the pattern that should be knocking you into orange stage. We aren't even talking about braking yet. We're not even talking about acceleration. We're not even talking about any fundamental skill that you need to have. We're talking about situational awareness and using your brain and being a smart rider. That's what we're doing right now. So if you can't do that, have fun maintaining your fundamental skills because you're going to be using them a lot. Big stack of cars, open lane, open lane, open lane. Good job finding the escape path. So that was the good thing. Now, this next part where we're not focused, and look, we're drifting into the outside lane. It's because we're focused back there on the person back there. We are drifting in the outside lane. Probably cutting off another car. The person's right on our ass. You can see it in the mirror. We're just not paying attention. So now, instead of being zoned in, yellow stage, we're zoned out. We're in white stage. One's if there's a pothole. One's if there's another car emerging. One's if there's this. One's if... You're just lucky that nothing's happening. How many feet per second do you travel at 80 miles per hour? So look back 1 second. How many feet did you travel that you didn't see that you were going? Write it in the comments. I've seen so many people crash the secondary because they weren't looking ahead. All right, we can't tell if they're going fast or not. We're low to the ground. All right, so good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty good body. Whoa. Lost traction. We're pushing the limits, you know, but that was good body position. Oh. So we're pushing the limits, lost traction on that rear tire, and it keeps trying to grab, lose, and we just fell. Could not control it. Now, this happens on the track. This happens on the track all the time. Well, I wouldn't say all the time, but it happens on the track. Oh, his point of view? Okay. Can't control it. You don't have enough time to do anything about it. Thankfully, he's got full gear. Whoa! Almost hit him. So what I was trying to get at while this was playing is that we're pushing it to the limit. Okay? So we're pushing the limit. He's got full gear. So already, you know, we're maintaining. We're not doing good seeking out and recognizing, but we're maintaining good fundamental skills. Looks like he had some pretty advanced skills. Acquiring, utilizing personal protective equipment, doing a good job there. Okay, rescue another rider. Hopefully he's not injured, but if he had to, but he's teaching and mentoring us. So we're getting through here. He's gonna go ahead and get into here, And that bike position looks pretty good. It's a pretty good bike position. Maybe we're pushing a little bit too hard. We don't know what the road surface is. This is a public road, so there could be a lot of debris. There could be gravel. There could be just look at the discoloration. So there's repair work. We don't know while we're going through here. We don't know. So on a track, it's a closed circuit. You can go the first couple times and get a feel for the circuit and get a feel for the track, and then you can push your limits if you want based off of what your tires and your capabilities are. But here we have no clue. So if anything happens, and we're pushing our limits here, anything happens, any other factor out of our control happens, we're screwed. And that's kind of what happened here. So typically, he might be able to make that turn pretty well, but maybe he went a little bit too wide. There's a little bit of gravel. Took a little bit too much traction away from him. Now, we're going freaking crazy. Now, if this happened on a track, let's say there's some gravel. Okay, cool. There's some gravel on a track, and this happens. Okay, now we don't have to worry on a track at all about cars coming. But out here, if all this craziness happens, now we got cars coming. Uh-oh. Easily could die. Thankfully, the car was coming a couple seconds late. So right here, there's a car way up here. Thankfully, this car decided to go a little bit slower that day. Maybe just left 10 seconds later out of their house. Thankfully, that car was right there and not right here. So that is the other factor you mitigate and minimize by going to a track. So he looks like he's track ready. Looks like he has skill for the track. Go to a track. Now, I hear it a lot. Well, I'm not near a track, Dan. I'm not near a track. Well, then what are you doing pushing your limits? What are you doing pushing your limits? Well, I got an R6. I got a BMW S1000RR. Well, why? Why? If you don't take it to a track, why are you racing on the road? So now we start going down that process of, well, I want to. Okay, cool, you want to. Well, here's what could happen. So don't blame anyone else then. Don't blame anyone else. I'm not saying this is what they're doing, but don't blame anyone else. If you crash, if your buddies die, don't blame anybody else other than the rider that did it. Get the bike that you want to use. Get the bike that's meant for what it's supposed to be. These race-ready bikes, take it to a track. Why are you buying a BMW S1000RR and you're not going to a track? What's the point of a race-ready bike if you're not going to race? It's literally like me buying a race car and be like, or a drag car and never drag racing outside of going on the street and possibly getting killed. And I just don't get it. Maybe that's just the problem that I have. I just don't get it. We just watched a ton of close calls and crashes. Now, if this is something you like, please show it to me by clicking that like button and commenting down below. Now, here's the thing. You have to submit your own videos in order for this to happen. So if you want to, there's a link in the description for that. But go ahead and check out this video right here. And then maybe this one right here. This one's actually pretty dang good. I had a ton of fun with this one. I'll be seeing you guys around.